Hello, you wonderful people. So obviously Comic-Con has come and gone. I mean, at least at the time of me recording this, it's the last day of Comic-Con, but by the time you see this, it will well be over. Obviously, a lot of, trailers have dropped. And for this particular video, I want to talk about, the Arrowverse stuff, which includes Arrow, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl. Obviously, there's a whole Black Lightning situation where it doesn't really count in the Arrowverse, but there was no new trailers, at least the one I saw, which is kind of a recap of season 1. Obviously, if you haven't seen any of the trailers, I'll include links in the description to each one of them. So first of all, let's kind of talk about what we saw in the Arrow trailer for season 7. Very interesting. We see Oliver in jail and it not being the easiest thing. We do see him kind of struggling because he's trying not to fight back, because I guess it's just going to cause more problems for him. I guess is why, I guess he doesn't want to kind of extend his time any more than he needs to, or at the very least he knows if he fights back it's just going to attract more attention, because it looks like he's kind of getting the crap beat out of him because he's actively not fighting back, which even a trailer, you even hear Diggle kind of talking like that doesn't sound like you, because eventually it gets to the point, no matter what, Oliver's instincts will kick in. He's been this fighter for so many years that those instincts just kind of kick in, and at one point you do see him kind of defending himself, but it's rough, dude. We even see in the trailer Michael Jai White's character, as well as some other faces of villains that he's poked away. I mean, that's the thing, everyone knows you're Green Arrow, that you're the superhero, and you're there with a whole bunch of criminals that you most likely helped put away. It's yeah, they're all gonna come for blood. We do see him kind of struggling, because obviously the only thing that's kind of keeping him going is the thought of, Felicity and William, which we do see them in a trailer, but they don't seem like they're in Star City. They're somewhere else, because Diaz catches up with them. At least that's what the trailer kind of implies, makes it seem like, which I was like, well, yeah, of course they wouldn't be in Star City anymore, because if I remember correctly, Argus is supposed to be looking after them, right? Because they can't stay in Star City, because it's oh yeah, these are two people who are important, and everyone that wants a Green Arrow dead will be gunning for them, especially Diaz after everything is said and done. I mean, he was gunning for them anyway, but now even more so, because he can't I'm sure that's probably another element too I didn't even think about, because obviously Diaz has got the criminal connections he does. It's most likely going to be a fact is that he could just get people on the inside to try and take out Oliver, so that's another thing. I'm surprised no one's giving him any slack, any of the guards there. I mean, who knows, maybe some of the guards are corrupted too, maybe they still on the Diaz payroll, but it's I'm surprised people are looking at it hey man, you've done some good for the city, let's back him up. But I guess it's just kind of oh, you're vigilante, you're criminal, I don't care, it's not my job to worry about your safety and stuff like that, which even though it's the whole thing, so it's maybe they don't really care that much. There's also lines from Dinah and Renee about the whole, it seems like vigilantes, it's been a couple months since season 6's finale, and it seems like vigilantes haven't really done anything, because even Dinah, it seems like, because it's it seems like all that's kind of been on the quiet, because vigilantes are kind of wanted criminals, so a lot of the vigilante stuff is kind of toned down. It doesn't even seem like they've really done anything, which it seems like it bothers Renee, because for him it's we promised Oliver that we'd look after Star City while he was gone, so that hard balance, especially in Dinah's case, being a cop and everything, plus the vigilante thing probably won't be as easy, so she's probably trying, at least in the trailer, because obviously when it comes to all these trailers, they're mainly things from the first 1 or 2 episodes, most likely, maybe some stuff sprinkled in from the rest of the season, but mainly it's going to be the first 2 episodes, very least the first episode of it, mainly. That is kind of interesting to think about. They haven't gone all vigilante and stuff like that in a while. Probably for their own safety, because it's just yeah, they have criminals and the cops coming after them, so maybe they have their own particular reasons why they had it, or maybe that's just kind of the excuse that they're giving, that there hasn't been any activity, when in actuality it has. The big thing in this too is that we do see a Green Arrow show up, and we see Diggle in the trailer, so it's is it Diggle? But it doesn't, I mean, it doesn't look like it's Diggle. Because that's a previous thoughts and theories I had about who could potentially be the next Green Arrow. I was wondering what they would do with the whole Oliver situation, but it seems like that's just going to be mainly focused on him in jail. But it does seem like someone else has picked up the mantle, because the city needs a Green Arrow. Now, is it Diggle picking it up? I don't know. Could it be potentially someone else? Is kind of what I threw it out there too, someone else picking up the mantle. But I mean, I feel like Diggle's the last one we saw with the suit, so I'd assume it's him, not unless someone just stole it, which would be kind of interesting if they just kind of was yeah, there's just some random person who's picking up the mantle after Oliver. I mean, but to have his skills and stuff like that too, pretty good with the bow. I mean, you can't just be some average Joe. It seems like whoever it is pretty skilled at the very least, because it doesn't necessarily seem like they're setting up the whole William potentially doing that, because it looks, whoever it is an adult. It doesn't look like William, but like I said, could be wrong. It's gonna be, I'm very interested to see what that all means going forward with that, what Oliver's situation turns into, what Star City's, whether or not not like Diaz is going to continue being the main antagonist, because if he does, it's going to be interesting, because main antagonists never carry over in this show. I mean, I guess arguably you could make it so Diaz was partially main antagonist because it was kind of more Kate and James situation, but then everyone else kind of circled around him. But now it's like, nope, we have him full on like main antagonist this season, because he didn't really start becoming the main antagonist until like halfway through season 6. So that's when he kind of stepped out into the spotlight. So I'm curious to see, is that why they're doing this, or will there be another baddie on top of all of this? We'll just have to wait and see. Next up, we will talk about the Flash. So we get a little taste of like having Nora around. It actually turns out apparently she can't actually get back to her time, so that's why she came to Barry and stuff. So we still don't 100% know why she ended up coming to the past. Like obviously, like I've hinted, I know the Thoughts and Theories video I did where I talked about some thoughts as to why Nora might be here, and it seems like some of it might be true, but I might have gotten some things here and there wrong, at least with my thoughts. It's because the way she implies it, because she's like, oh yeah, Barry's the one that gave her nickname, but I'm thinking it's kind of implying that whatever time period she's from, Barry isn't around. Like I said, my thought is the fact that she's getting to know everyone in Team Flash must mean that they're not around in the present day, or maybe at the very, only got to know them when they were older before they died or whatever, or maybe she didn't get to know the entire team in general, because maybe some of them had died at that time when she was getting older, and only some of them were alive. So now she's meeting them in their heyday, and it's like, oh man, this is the stuff you're going through. It's like, right, I heard stories about this from my mom and my dad, but definitely it seems like she's implying that Barry isn't around for whatever reason. I mean, it might not even just be Barry, it might be Iris too, because for her to go through the extent that because that's the thing, like, why would she help Barry with the whole satellite thing? Is it because her coming back in time, something changed and the whole satellite thing didn't happen in her time period? Or is it just because it's like, no, my dad's here? Like once again, it's something I also threw out there, that Barry got severely hurt, and she probably was like, no, let me go ahead and help my dad, so that basically Central City is a little more protected, because maybe the satellite thing didn't kill him, but it knocked him out of commission for a long while. Or like I said, maybe something happened to him, maybe he lost his speed, like something bad happened to him. Whatever it is, it seems like she doesn't really want to talk about it, but it's just kind of like, once again, the whole thing of like the big mistake she made is like, what did she make? Was it doing that's kind of changed everything? Because it's also like the talk of like, yeah, we got to make sure she doesn't Marty McFly herself out of existence. So like I said, a lot of this is pulled from the first episode, so I just love everyone's reaction and be like, oh wow, you're Barry's daughter. That's crazy. Cisco being like, hey, does anyone else want to check? Okay, it's just me, huh? It's also interesting too, because we do see Wally, at least there too, like which he was there in the finale, which I'm probably talking about, it's a little bit Legends too, but I guess he might kind of bounce back and forth between the shows, or at very least probably stay mainly in the Flash for now. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that too. So, but I'm very interested to see what that whole like Nora situation ends up turning out to be. And then there's also like the main antagonist of season 5 is like the name I've seen circulating. I don't know if this is actually his name, but they make the reference to his name being Cicada, like the insect. Are they considered insects? Nevertheless, he's making all that noise, and he just walks into somebody's house. Well, it looks like maybe it's kind of his house or whatever, but he puts down a symbol that looks like a lightning bolt, and then like he's looking at the TV, hearing about the Flash, and he's making a noise, and it shuts the TV off. But there's kind of like this red electricity to it, so I'm wondering, is there like something more to that? Like, that seemed like some speedster like level electricity, and it started flowing into the Thunderbolt. So maybe he has something to do with the future, Maybe he's not a future villain, maybe he's something else. I don't know what that whole deal is. I'm very interested to find out. And there's also, really quickly, the ring thing. Like, hasn't that come up before? I could have sworn they've made a reference to that earlier in this series. I'm blanking on, but I could have sworn there was at least one time he did it. The fact is that Nora gives it to him. Maybe that means it's going to be a more permanent thing. Well, because this is like right after like season 4's finale, so it's most likely like his suit's still pretty damaged up. So Cisco, probably hasn't fixed it up, so she probably just had a spare suit around for him, because it's like, yeah, this is kind of one of the classics for you, so that's kind of interesting. The fact that she kind of has it on her is a very interesting thing too. But like I said, a lot of that we'll have to wait to see like what the whole season kind of unfolds to be, to kind of really get a grander picture of everything. So next up, we'll talk about Legends of Tomorrow, which I love kind of the Legends kind of being a little bummed, because it's like, oh yeah, the only thing that kind of came out of that whole Mala situation was like a dragon. There's never really been any other trouble, so they're kind of like depressed and stuff, because it's like, yeah, we it helped us out a lot more if like more stuff was happening. It's just kind of like, oh, because even Sarah's making a comment of like, we did it. we fixed the problem and we didn't create an even worse situation. It's like, well, technically you did, because when you unleashed Mollis to kill him, which, yeah, it was a good thing you did, but it's like, you also unleashed whatever else was sealed in there with him. And so I think it's kind of interesting, because it seems like Legends is taking a more supernatural approach. It's interesting on the more magical side of things on multiple levels, because one, it seems like Constantine might be sticking around a lot more this season. It seems like he might be making the Wally replacement, I guess, to a certain extent. I'd assume, since we're dealing with more magical threats, it'd be kind of interesting to kind of add that in there. Because to me, and I've talked about this in the past too, it's like the whole situation with Magic is kind of funny when it comes to the whole Arrowverse thing, because the only other show that's really done it is Arrow. Season 4, and once again, it's that situation of, I don't know how most people feel about it, because like what I've heard, and this was just kind of like a small thing from some people, it's like people didn't really like the more magical aspect of Arrow. It's like it needs to be more of a grounded show, which is interesting considering like it crosses over with the metahuman stuff. It's not a lot, it's a little here and there, but it doesn't become like, obviously the Flash being like the main metahuman show and the Arrow being the main like grounded show. I'm curious, like, I mean, I think Legends is okay, because for one, Legends has a whole situation with like season 3 really stepped up the magic thing, and I guess that was kind of a test run. They're like, oh, we can fiddle with it even more, blend magic and science fiction, because obviously everything with Constantine and everything with Mollis, Damien Dark's daughter, Damien Dark himself, the whole magic angle in that. Also, let's not forget the Totem Bearers. I think I always let that slip my mind, like, that, yeah, their abilities count as magic too, which is another thing I'm curious about this season as well. It's like, it seems like Amaya won't be coming back, but we'll see. I'd assume. I mean, I think Zari's just kind of playing that role fully. I mean, I wonder, will we ever see any Kuwaso? I mean, they got introduced like, you know, she's a good guy in this new timeline and everything, so I'm wondering, will that kind of carry over into in this season, in the sense of like she'll actually pop up and kind of work with the Legends. We'll see. I feel like, I mean, maybe it's just me, but I feel like they've added like a heavier comedy element, which isn't a bad thing. I think it works really well because they are such a self-deprecating team. I constantly bring it up. It's like, once again, like what Sarah was saying, yay for once we fixed the solution, a problem, without creating further problems, which technically you did, but it's just kind of being quiet, so there hasn't really been much done about like the dark forces that had escaped. So I'm very interested to kind of see like what this season has in store, what kind of craziness we'll experience, and what kind of monsters and situations they'll deal with. Because let's not forget, like one of the things we see pop up is a unicorn. So like I said, we're definitely heavily going into the more magic side of things, which I think is pretty neat, because like we haven't gone full deep into magic outside of Legends, so like a full season probably more dedicated to it, much like season 3 is definitely going to be very interesting going forward. And once again, like I was bringing up, you know, the whole Wally situation, we might see him kind of pop in and pop out potentially. I don't know, he might be full-time Flash this season, because that was more so kind of like he was just trying to pave his own path, and now it's like, well, like I said, he's back on the Flash. So, and then finally, I'm going to talk about Supergirl. A lot of Supergirl's trailer was mainly like recapping season 3, but I think we can definitely, at least with the aesthetic they're going for, it seems like this main villain, I don't know who they are. Like anyone who's like well versed in DC stuff, it's like, oh my god, it's so and so. It's like, once again, I'm not well versed in comic books, but it seems like whoever that is, it seems like we're kind of going back to season 2 storyline in a sense, because it didn't really come up in season 3, the whole like, oh, humans versus aliens situation, because it's like season 2 is when it was really at its peak, the whole like, you know, because that's when Cadmus was kind of doing its thing, you know, Lillian was kind of stirring up trouble with the whole like, oh, being anti-alien and stuff like that, which aliens have kind of always been there, but I feel like season 2 was like the real big push to be like, yeah, aliens are on Earth, they're kind of hidden among us, and it became more of a well-known thing. But this is also because this is off the backbone of technically 3 invasions. Obviously you had the Kryptonian invasion, which once again is kind of like a lot of that season 1 stuff. It's like, I don't know how much of that carried over into the Arrowverse. You know, some of it did, but it's kind of like, it's not talked about a lot. Talked about a little here and there, but I'm assuming like the whole Kryptonian like trying to take over kind of hit. There's the whole Daxam invasion. Then there's the whole World Destroyers and the Dark Kryptonians in season 3. So obviously we can circle back to it and be like, man, National City just gets hit with more and more alien threats, and it seems like we're kind of tiptoeing that, because even the antagonist is kind of being like, yeah, even your heroes, you really shouldn't count on them, because, you know, they're aliens too. So obviously we get a little look, because obviously this is the new DEO now under like Alex's control. Like there's no Win, or, you know, because obviously he's in the future of Mon-El and the Legends, and John's going. We might see him pop up here and there, but definitely it's Alex and Brainy mostly So I'm curious to see what that all turns into, because and there's also that badass like suit we see Kara in, where it's more of like almost like a space suit with for Supergirl, which I'm like, oh, is that supposed to be kind of representative of the fact that she might be doing a lot more like space stuff this season, kind of like the way that's designed? Like, I don't know. Once again, comic book people are probably like, oh my god, that means this. Because let's not also forget like how season 3 ended with the other Kara, but like there's the other Kara running around, so it's like, okay, so what's that about too? Like I said, it was mainly a little new stuff here and there, but it was mainly kind of a recap. So I'm very interested to see what that ends up turning out to be. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you excited for these new seasons? What are some of your thoughts that you have about each of these seasons going forward, especially if you're more well versed in DC stuff? You know, obviously some of you might not want to get too spoilers, but at the same time, it's like, well, even though you might have ideas about what it's like in the comic books, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be like that in the TV show, because they might, you know, do their own thing. But still, like I said, let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this video. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.